Welcome back. Are you thinking about building a house? A lot of people like to build in this part of the world, but legal problems can arise if things don't go as planned. And that's what we are talking about today. We have Devin Buchanan joining us today from Fulton and Company. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Susan.
Yes. So legal disputes, not something you think about when you're all excited. You want to build your dream house. You got the blueprints. Everything's good to go. Things don't always go as planned.
Well, that's right. It's the last thing that people want is to end up in a legal dispute or a legal fight. They don't plan for it. They don't actually think it can happen until it does. And usually when it does, it's at the end of the build or the end of the relationship, and it's too late. The cat's out of the bag and they find themselves in a dispute. So,
are there, generally speaking, things that go wrong that are more common than others? The budget's out of whack, or something is built not to code. What are the big things?
You know, there are a number of things. A big one is a dispute over how much the individual agreed to pay for a certain project. Budget and the costs go over, and at the end of the day, the homeowner doesn't want to pay that amount, feels that they don't have to pay it, and of course the builder may be entitled to that amount. And so that's a big one. Deficiencies, that's common. Those can usually be resolved between the parties.
So what is a builder's lien? What does that mean?
So a builder's lien is essentially a charge that is registered on title to property, similar to a mortgage gets registered on in the land title registry. A lien, it gets registered on the title by someone who has done work on the property, be it a landscaper or an electrician, whomever, and they're claiming for the work they've done if they haven't been paid. And it allows them to, ultimately, they could force the sale of the home to get paid. More frequently, what happens is it can disrupt financing on the project, so the lender won't lend any more money if they know there's a lien on title, and it can also disrupt a sale. No one wants to buy a house if there's a lien on title. So.
No, for sure. So this is your area of expertise. This is what you do at Fulton and Company?
That's right. I represent both builders, tradespeople, as well as homeowners when it comes to disputes around construction.
Okay, so we have put together a sort of a board of tips that Devin suggests in order to avoid this sort of thing from happening to you, and that's on the screen now. I'll let you pick it up with the first one there.
Right, so this is a general list, if you like, for avoiding these kinds of disputes and thinking about it from the get-go. So the very first thing is to be clear about the scope of the work and the price. Really what this relates to is in law, we call it the meeting of the minds. You want both people, the builder, the homeowner, going forward, you want them to know exactly what they're getting into, what are they agreeing to do, how much are they agreeing to pay, and focus in. It could be a small project like a bathroom, it could be a whole home, but you want to understand what's being agreed to, essentially.
Okay, and then the second one, of course, is get it in writing, which makes a lot of sense.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people don't take that step to get it in writing. And the point isn't to go and get a big complicated contract drafted up and have the parties sign that, although that would be great. It could be as simple as confirming by email what you've discussed. Quite often people will enter into these types of agreement just on a handshake, having spoken for half an hour in the kitchen, and then they don't reduce it to writing. And at the end of the day, if there is a dispute, you're basically trying to, it's a he said, she said, and you're trying to decide who's right. It's nice to have something to point to. Could be an email, could be a simple piece of paper with some of those terms on there.
Absolutely. The third tip is maintain a builder's lien holdback account. What does that mean?
Right. So as you're going forward with the project, owners of property are obligated to retain 10%, a minimum of 10% of the value of the work, hold it back. And what that allows you to do is limit your liability as a homeowner to whatever you've held back, that 10%. So it's a simple concept. If you're presented with a bill for $10,000, you pay $9,000 and you put $1,000 in this account. At the end of the day, if someone does file a lien on your property, you can take that 10%, pay it into court, and then have the lien be removed from your property. So it's an important step to protect yourself. builders can do the same thing if you're a general contractor.
Okay. Next tip, that's where we at, pay in draws. So don't pay in full.
Well, right. And the idea there is simply to try to keep the value of the work even with the amount paid, so that at any given time you're close there. And so you don't get this imbalance that can happen where the homeowner might think it's best to retain most of the money to the very end until they're satisfied. Well, problem there is that perhaps the builder runs into financial problems and is unable to pay their sub-trades. Well, those sub-trades could put a lien on your property. So best to keep the values even so that you don't have that imbalance, you don't get disputes arising over that.
Okay, and if all else fails and it just doesn't work out, consult a lawyer.
Well, Susan, I had to throw that in there, of course, but
yes,
the point isn't to involve a lawyer where it's going to cost you an additional whole bunch of money to resolve this. Really, the idea is that there are opportunities at the outset of a dispute that can be very important for both the builder and the homeowner. So one of the things is deadlines around liens. If you're a builder, you should know what the deadlines are and how to file a lien properly and within time to preserve your rights. Conversely, a homeowner might have an opportunity to take a run at a lien, get one discharged because it's been filed out of time or it hasn't been filed properly. So have that conversation with a lawyer. Initially, you can get some summary advice on where you stand. And the other thing, if the lien period is elapsed or you can't file one, there are other opportunities to resolving disputes. There's court processes. There's also, for low-value disputes, you can take a case to the Civil Resolution Tribunal. There's a variety of mechanisms for resolving construction disputes.
Okay.
And you should know what your rights are right away, because you can take some important steps.
Yeah, good to do the homework ahead of time so you sort of understand some of the concepts involved and you can be prepared for the worst possible outcome. Hopefully it doesn't happen.
That's right.
Yeah. Devin, we're out of time. Really great to have you on the show today to tell us a little bit about some of the ideas that people should keep in mind. So thank you for that.
Thanks so much.
Very welcome. Again, if you're looking for some advice on building, this is something Devin specializes in at Fulton & Company. Information on the screen at fultonco.com, as well as the phone number 372-5542. We're back after a quick break. Stay with us.